Welcome to the Witchy Wit Podcast, Episode 6, Christmas? Yule. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Witchy Wit Podcast, where we look at life through a witchy lens. I'm Kimberlyn.
I'm Leilani.
At Witchy Wit, we explore current events,
Ideas,
music and books,
and experiences in ways that recognize energy and life in everybody and everything.
We are both real witches.
And we bring two real perspectives through the lens of our different ages,
Races,
and backgrounds.
with a healthy skepticism for what we have been told is true. Our conversations are raw, candid, and vulnerable.
Join us as we cast a spell to uncover what we each know is true in our intuitive, witchy selves.
Welcome! So, Leilani, what's been going on with you outside of podcasty witchy stuff?
So the episode that we're doing right now is Yule, and I've been thinking about and experiencing what it's like to live in the holidays. Live in the holiday season.
Yes.
So this, I don't know if you can tell where this check-in is going, but we're taking a little dive into shadow territory here. I've just been thinking about the way that I'm living during these times. I'm trying to turn inward. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to process. I'm trying to be introspective and reflective. And it's tough. The holidays are tough.
Yeah.
And every year I think I'm getting better. Every year I think like, nah, I got this. And then every year it's like, honk, honk, smack. And I get hit with like
the Christmas bus.
Right, my shadow, And it's like, I'm sure we'll talk about this for a million hours later on, maybe in another podcast. But it's just challenging. And I think where I'm sitting with right now is that one of the reasons why it's tough is two things. One is our family acts as like a catalyst for triggers, right?
Oh my gosh. Wait, I'm going to interrupt you really quick.
Go ahead.
This is, I think you weren't even born yet, but there was a show, and I think was it Mad About You or something like that? And it was a comedian and Helen Hunt, I want to say. I could be wrong.
Totally is Mad About You, and I was alive.
Okay, were you? Okay, all right. It just seems to me I was so far in the past. And I just remember there was this one episode where she was talking to him and she was telling him, my mother, she drives me nuts. She pushes every single one of my buttons. And he says, of course she does. She knows exactly where they are because she installed them. So when you say the family's the catalyst, I get you. Please continue.
Yes, please feel free to jump in with things like that. That's awesome. Yeah. But yes, so they installed them, right? So some people may find this not pleasing to what they're seeking, maybe as I'm saying this, but this isn't family bashing. This is like, it's my responsibility. I'm an adult. Like, I need to take responsibility for the way I behave. Even when triggered, right?
That's right.
So, so just the dynamics of family and being around family and family being able or not able to visit because of COVID adds some more complexities.
Right.
Families of loved ones that are not my biological family. Anyways, so just like being aware of that and like having some moments where I'm like, okay, Leilani, you're in a pissy mood right now. What are you going to do about it? Because being pissy is not making this is not making it anything better. Like, now you've just spent an hour with your family and you're pissy.
Right.
Right? Like you're still pissy, So that's one part. And then the second part is, and I'm curious to see how you'll react to when I say this, also being unmarried and without children and a woman.
Oh. Oh my gosh!
For those of you listening, she just play fainted and fell over.
Oh my god! Oh, and the questions.
And I feel like the questions intensify around the holidays.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
And I'm 30. I'm in my late 30s. And then like reflections back of the culture, like. When you see a picture during the holidays, like, what is that picture of?
Oh, of a family.
It's of a family, and there's like, all of the things that are like super stereotypical, like a man and a woman. So like, let's not even get into people who like are non-heteronormative, right?
Yes, right, right.
or non-binary, but and so I'm feeling that and I'm noticing that, but what I am excited about, even though it's hard and challenging, is that this year I'm doing I don't want to say better, but like I'm more aware of noticing and like working through it and with it.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, no, God bless you, because it's a bear, and I don't know. I don't know if I ever came to terms with it before I got married, and then my marriage was such it was just an opportunity for me to embrace
a barrel of monkeys.
to embrace the better parts of myself. And so after that, it's kind of like, screw it, who cares? But I just remember, and I don't think people mean to be mean to be hurtful or triggering or whatever. They just really want to know. So how have you been? Are you getting married, or are you are you with someone or whatever? And not understanding how it feels to be on the other side of that, or what, no kids, or
Oh yeah, it's what, no kids? Yeah. Oh, you'll have some someday. Right.
Yeah. So I tell them I have 700. So.
Yeah, right. It is like a sassy teacher answer that I do say that.
Yeah. So no, I feel you, and I'm so glad I'm past that now. No one asks, because they're like, oh, she's just old. Good, thank you.
One more incentive to crone, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
crone, yes. Crone.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Thank you for listening. I have no idea how long that check-in took, but thank you for indulging me. There's a lot of passion and energy behind those words.
Oh, I can imagine.
What about you? What's your check-in? I'm kind of excited. I see you have a prop.
Yes, I do. So for those of you who are not here, I'm holding a package of Nature Two-Way bamboo bath tissue.
Oh my. I feel like we've recently spoken about bamboo bath tissue.
Was it just the last episode?
Yes.
Yeah, it was just the last episode.
Our holistic living.
Right. When I was saying how I spent $60 on, I can't even remember how many rolls. And literally like 2 days ago, they said, oh, it's time for you to renew. So I think I canceled my membership. Anyway, and so like a day later, I'm in Lowe's. And I see that they have bamboo bath tissue. And we had been talking about how one of our goals, one of our dreams and prayers is that eventually we won't be the woo-woo ones. Everyone will, be concerned about their carbon footprint and concerned about how they can contribute to making the earth a better place and more sustainable. And to see this in Lowe's means that there is some mainstream thinking about how wasteful it is to kill trees when we can do bamboo, which is like, it's a weed. It literally is a weed, and it grows, and you can make you can make floors, you can make yarn, you can make toilet tissue. It's just amazing. It's so versatile, and I'm hoping that by seeing it in Lowe's, that's showing that people are embracing it. So that's my check-in.
Kimberlyn, did you pay $60 for those 4 rows of toilet tissue?
Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
This package of 4 rolls at Lowe's, if you want to get it yourself, was $2. It was $1.98. $1.98.
Wonderful.
So there we go. And that's the thing about it. We were talking about how this kind of thinking can be associated with privileged people. Or people with money, with the ability, the time, and the money to be able to do these kind of things. And by seeing this at Lowe's and seeing this at a decent price, it's showing that there are things that can be done by anyone. And the more mainstream these things become, the cheaper and more available, and more acceptable it'll be. So. Yay!
Shout out to Lowe's and Nature Is it Nature Two-Way or is it Nature Z-Way?
I don't know. It looks. Let's go with. Oh, you know what? We can
be our sponsor.
Yeah, really. Yes. A shout out, advertisement, and I can't read it, but it's from. Of course, it's from California. So anyway, Nature Two-Way, the eco way. So eco-friendly. Get it. I can't, maybe I'll take a picture and put it on our social media. A little bit of ad. I wonder if then they'll sponsor us. Okay, anyway. Okay, moving on.
Oh, Santa Claus is pagan too. just like all the rest. And if you are a merry witch, he'll bring you all the best. So get that star up on the roof and bake those cookies too, 'cause Christmas time is really Yule and Santa's pagan too.
So that fun song was Santa Claus is Pagan too. And I think it resonates for what we're going to be talking about today, because we're surrounded now by Christmas trees and people putting up decorations and things like that. And so Christmas, right? But as someone who is not Christian, Christmas is something else for me. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about that and talk about how we as witches kind of think about that season, which is Yuletide. And Christians use that term too. But let's talk about what that means.
I think that sounds great. Mm-hmm. And I think shout out back to our episode about Samhain and Halloween. Mm-hmm. I have a similar energy, although a little bit less directly pointed at my witchiness. But I do feel seen in our culture in this holiday as well, because I'm like, look at those evergreen trees.
Right, like, exactly.
What?
Yes,
yes. Look at the mistletoe.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh, yeah.
Whoop, whoop. Oh, Yule Log. Like, I'm here for the Yule Log,
Yes. Yeah. And it's so funny because the parts that I always liked about Christmas are the things that I like about Yule. Isn't that a beautiful thing? So, the food. So anyway, so let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, let's talk about what Yule is.
Yes.
So, one of the things about this is that this is just basically a celebration of the winter solstice.
There we go.
No, the winter solstice.
Yes.
Yeah, the winter solstice, where it's the longest night of the year. And so many cultures celebrate Yule, and in a number of different ways. Where in places where it gets cold, the kind of some of the atmosphere around it is this idea of kind of hunkering down and going fallow and going into. And you were talking about being more introspective and
just
so
listening to you say all of that, I'm like getting into this like trance like state. I can feel it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lay down on the ground. No, I'm not gonna lay down.
I know you can feel yourself dropping.
I can't,
right?
Especially with your voice. Like,
sorry. Okay.
If you start drumming, I'm gonna lose it.
I thought at one point I thought maybe we'd sing the song, but I won't. Okay. Anyway, so. And for me, it's so fascinating. I just love, as a religious history scholar, love looking at how the Roman Catholic Church missionized. And one of the things, I don't know if I put it down here, but one of the I didn't. But like one of the main points when they send out missionaries is to see what type of celebrations and what types of things are honored in that culture, and see what correlations they have to Roman Catholicism. And so when they went into like the northern lands, they saw these celebrations of Yule, and they thought, well, what else? And I'm sorry. and it's so much of this is now you're going from you're at the longest night of the year, and so that means the days are getting longer. We have more sun. And so many cultures treat this as kind of like the birth of the sun or the rebirth of the sun, which in Christianity, there's a sun there too, S-O-N.
Yes.
And so they thought that was the perfect tie-in.
For me, I really resonate with my particular brand of witchiness. I really resonate with the cycles of the earth and the cycles of the moon and the sun. So this concept of the lengthening of night and all that means, and all the metaphor around night, and the richness of darkness, and the exploration of shadow. See my check-in.
So this is perfect, actually.
It's perfect. And then also I love Yule, and I love winter solstice, because I love honoring that darkness, and then I just love celebrating the return of the sun.
Oh yeah, it's a glorious time. It's a glorious time. And in terms of shadow, one of the things that so in the northern, Yule, the term Yule is associated with the northern land. So I would say the majority of cultures celebrate the solstice in some sort of way, but Yule is is associated mainly with that. So we're talking about the winter. We're talking about cold. An aspect of this is celebrating, like you brought in all your food, all of the harvests are done. There's a little bit of concern, like will the food last until we start bringing food again? So some of this is kind of propitiation of like the gods, like making sure that they're happy so that you can get through the winter. And so there is this element of being concerned about your family and your tribe and things like that. And I think that is, for me, a part of it, that idea of, what's going on, like we're celebrating now. Can we continue to celebrate, like, what's going to happen 2 or 3 months from now? And so that kind of looking forward, you're in it, but you're also looking forward.
People who are spending all their money on Christmas presents are wondering the same thing. Will we be able to make it a few months from now? It's good now, but...
That's right. Here's that, what is it? Kiss me Elmo, or no, hug me Elmo.
Tickle me Elmo.
Yeah, do you know
that was like, how many decades ago was Tickle Me Elmo?
Well, you know what?
I think it's a PS5 now. Like, I think that's the big thing.
Oh, is that? Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's always some hot, even during COVID, there's always going to be some hot item, right?
Yeah.
And parents are wondering, should we get it for our kids, or
will we be able to make it through the rest of the winter if we get the PS5? Will our harvest be enough?
And the kids are like, let's do this. We can make our own little individual son, mommy, and dad. Okay, we're getting off topic. Okay. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about how we celebrate. Okay. So one thing we talked about family and tribe, and for me, so much of this is about family, food. When I think of, like, we talk about, the dark of night, but I think of, bright lights and all of us sitting around the table and yelling at each other and talking over each other, because we're from New Jersey, talking over each other and drinking and staying up and oh my gosh. And so that's a big part of it, just the family aspect of it. I like to joke that my family puts the fun in dysfunctional. And I mean, when we celebrate hard, but it's also about the food. To me, the gifts are not a big thing. I don't gift well, and I don't, so that's not my big thing. But decorating, I have like a little fake tree, but I go to the Christmas tree lots and I ask if I could take the fallen branches so I can deck my halls.
Oh, you are such a witch.
And they're like, sure, whatever. Right, it keeps us from sweeping.
Crazy lady, you can take the trash, like the trash branches.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, you're like,
I know, it's fabulous. Yeah. So things like that. And I'm a musician. Christmas carols. I don't care what they're talking about. I just love them. And I just love sitting and singing and having people sing and, let's do this one now and let's do that. It's so much fun for me. What about with you?
So for me, I really love things that are different than yours. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. My family is not big. My family is not really loud.
It's probably for the best.
Every family is its own unique brand of weird. But for me, I love the fire. The Yule fire is really important to me. And burning that fire and like holding that light through the longest night to make it to the day is something that is really powerful for me. Even if it's just like, so this is hello, City Witch here. Even if it's a candle in my bathtub, that I set in my bathtub to burn while I sleep.
Oh, right. Yes, because you don't want to burn down the house.
I don't want to burn down the house, and I'm not going to fall asleep with the lit candle like hanging out somewhere.
That's right. Yeah.
So even if it's that mundane, I love that. And then I love the evergreen trees. Yes. As a symbol of life and death, life through death, and then I love lights. This is like the raver girl in me.
Yes, I know.
I love lights, and I love seeing them, and I love having them up.
Do you decorate your house?
So my partner does, but my part of decorating is I have a leg lamp that I put in my window. That's like my decoration.
What kind of lamp?
A leg lamp from A Christmas Story.
Oh, okay. That's
the lamp with the heel and the fishnets and the really ugly.
Yes. that's what you meant. But I said,
yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
The soft glow of electric sex, as they say, glows from my window. But man, that's my style of decorating. I just put that sucker out on the table in my front window, plug it in on a timer, and I'm like, holidays are here, everybody. Here we go.
Let's do this.
Let's celebrate. Meanwhile, everyone's like lining their their rooftops with lights. I'm like, boom, done, plugged in.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad.
I also think though, like I do like to be contrary. Those who are my good friends know that I do like to be contrary. So there is something kind of fun about like this fishnetted leg is my contribution to.
That's the light that guides Rudolph to your house.
It is.
Lovely. Now, what about do you have any special foods or anything like that associated with
wassail?
Ooh,
or wassail, depending on how you pronounce it. It's like an apple cider with spices. For a number of reasons. One, I don't cook in it. You can't really mess it up. You do like an apple cider base, and then you can just like throw spices in there, and then maybe cut up some sort of citrus to float on top if you're getting real fancy. Then you turn that sucker up on the oven top or in your crock pot, and like, bam!
Look at you.
Your house smells great.
Yes.
People are happy. You can even add alcohol if that's your jam, and then like it's a crowd pleaser.
Brilliant.
Much like the leg lamp, zero effort or minimal effort, crowd pleaser.
Yeah, Well, see, here you're very efficient. And you know what you want, and you know exactly what that looks like, and you don't have to fiddle fart around and think, oh, what should I do this year?
Yes. Thank you for loving that about me.
So I mentioned the fact that so many of our Christian traditions actually come from pagan traditions. And so I'm going to just mention a few. A lot of people know about the Yule Log, and that reflects your idea of that the flame burning all night long. And I'm not quite sure what the ancient pagan association is, but I think it's that same idea, just something that's going to burn throughout the season. And I'm trying to remember.
And they saved a piece of it.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
So that it was like carrying that light from last year into
the next year. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So another tradition is the Yule Goat, and
you're kidding.
No. So basically, there's kind of so you think of like the satyrs and stuff like that, and so I think it comes out of that, but I know that I think it's the Nordic lands where Frigga or Freya, one of them drives a chariot and it's pulled by goats. Okay, so there is that. And then there's another one where I think you ride a goat. And so what we have today in a Christian tradition, we have the reindeer. And so some of the ways that we talked about the goats, now people kind of use that with reindeer, and then it was conflated with Saint Nicholas which became Santa Claus and all this kind of stuff, and Santa Claus, of course, is based on the old green man and that whole bit. So all of these kind of traditions, we can see the pagan version, and then we have the Christian version, and then the Yule Boar is just basically something to eat. So it's like that's why we have, like, a lot of families have hams.
Yes.
And that comes from the Yule Boar, and literally they would go out and hunt themselves a boar, and there's a carol, like the Boar's Head carol, and so you kill the pig, and you'd roast the whole pig, and apparently like you stuff things in the head, and the head was supposed to be a delicacy.
I like how you say it's supposed to be.
So here's my Christmas story. So years and years I was a kid. I was 6 years old. So that tells you how many years ago it was. Actually, it doesn't, because you'll never know my age. But a friend of my mother's, they used to make. Now I don't know if you've ever had this head cheese. Have you ever had head cheese?
No.
Oh my God.
I've never even heard of head cheese. It sounds.
So you take all of the cartilage and stuff out of the pig, and you boil it down with vinegar and spices, and it's so nasty. For those of you who love head cheese, I'm so sorry. 31 flavors, and I honor your loving it. I did not. I made the mistake though. My mother's best friend makes these, and she would make a fridge full of it because it was a big. I don't know if it's mainly Christmas. So I think it was New Year's Day. But you'd come to the house and she'd make a big old brick, give you a brick of it, and she gave me a little taste one year. And I didn't have sense enough to say, "Oh no, this is nasty." She said, "Oh, what are you thinking?" I said, "Oh, it's nice."
Oh.
Every year, baby,
no.
come over here. My mama put you some cheese aside, some head cheese. Here's your head cheese. That thing was the size of like 2 bricks.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, but fortunately, I think my dad ate it or something. He was like, "Oh baby, you brought me some head cheese." I was like, "Oh my God."
Why, yes, I did.
Merry Christmas.
Oh.
Anyway, but we got to so that's the boar. So the Boris head carol is celebrates the bringing in the boar. And that's where they have the apple stuffed in the mouth and the whole bit. And what's the other? I'm trying to look at our list here. Oh, so Yule singing. So some of that tradition is basically singing through the night to stave off, there's fears and things, and to stave off the wild hunt. Oh, that's where the goat is, the wild hunt.
Okay.
The wild hunt. So stave off the fairies coming to take your soul. And so by singing, you empower the tribe. And so the idea of Yule singing and the idea of Christmas caroling comes from that, where everyone gets together and sings.
I want to share with our listeners one of my favorite traditions that we have with our circle. Mm-hmm. So we live in San Antonio, and one of the things we're famous for is the Riverwalk. And our circle also, I would say, we love to sing. Would you say that's true?
I would say we
love to sing. Our circle loves to sing so much that we gather an hour before ritual just to sing for an hour. Just to sing for an hour, just to be together and sing. We sing old chants, all the things we already know. We learn new ones. Our sisters write their own. We have a rich culture of singing, and it has for a long time. So being that singing and Christmas caroling, go hand in hand. So then we decided a couple years ago that we would go down to the Riverwalk. And in San Antonio, it's common for groups to rent a river barge, and it floats up and down the Riverwalk and they Christmas carol. Well, all y'all out there, just imagine this. Imagine a barge or two.
Because we had two last year.
We had 2 barges full of witches going up and down the San Antonio Riverwalk on a Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah. With all the Christmas lights. Everyone walking on either side with their Santa hats on, their elf hats on.
And then you and I, we got our drums.
We had our drums.
Some other people have some drums. We get on those barges and we are floating up and down the Riverwalk and we are singing our songs.
We are not singing Christmas carols.
We are not singing Christmas carols. We're going up and down singing about the goddess and
we all come from the goddess. All of that, yes. And people are going by, and as you do this, people wave and they shout and the whole bit, and you can kind of see them waving, and kind of
what are they?
What are they saying?
Say what? And then what I love though is the small children who don't know any better. They're all just like, yay! Singing people! Wow, they have drums! Wow, they're dancing! I don't know if we're actually allowed to stand up and move around on the barge, but we do anyways. And we we're dancing around.
Oh yeah. No, it's so much fun. But we're not this year, COVID.
We are not.
But still, it's so much fun. And again, we bring ourselves. We come out a little bit.
It is fun. Yeah. I do like wearing. My sister and I both wore our witch hats.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's kind of fun.
And I think on a certain level, even if people are not necessarily comfortable with who we are, at Christmas, we kind of get this kind of glaze over everything, where it's kind of like "Hail, fellow well met" type of, and so they're like, well, and even if they're going, but it's like, yeah, whatever, have a Merry Christmas.
Oh, they're singing, cool.
Yeah. So even though we may not necessarily be celebrating exactly the way they would, I think that they still have a little room in their hearts for us.
It's wonderful to have people make room for
exactly.
a little bit of different.
Yes.
A part of my personal practice, not just around winter solstice, but around the whole wheel of the year, is taking the metaphorical changes and cycles of the earth, the moon, the seasons, and then applying it metaphorically or symbolically to to my own life and to the life cycle of a human.
Mm-hmm.
So I do that too, especially around winter solstice, because I live in San Antonio, and sometimes on Christmas in San Antonio or on Yule or on like whenever it is, it's 80 degrees, you know?
Yes, it is.
So like you turn on the TV and there's like snow on It's a Wonderful Life, and I'm sitting there in my shorts.
Drinking a Mai Tai.
Right. You know, my air conditioner kicks on.
That's exactly
I'd really
right.
like to turn my fireplace on.
Yeah.
You know, I'd really like to light a fire in my fireplace, but it's 70 degrees
It's
and
too hot,
I got the air conditioner running, so I'm not so sure that I want to do that.
Or even that it's safe. I don't know if you do that.
Right.
Yeah. No, I get that. Well, what's a way, what are some of the ways in which you can, bring like what other people would celebrate outside in your celebration?
So I look at what is it that the earth or the season is experiencing. And so whenever I look at winter solstice, I see the darkness lengthening. You mentioned before about turning inward, hibernation, pulling my energies inward into a way where I'm sustaining myself. So for me, a lot of winter solstice is around things like that. Instead of energy going out, me feeding others, needing other things, I'm pulling it inward. I'm looking inward. I'm hibernating. I may not, well, COVID is perfect for that. I may not be going out as much,
Right.
I may be staying in more. I may be reflecting more. And it's just about me holding that darkness and allowing that darkness to cultivate and germinate myself.
Yeah.
How does it reflect for you?
When you just that last part that you were saying, that so resonates for me, because I think of this period as not, it may be dark and it may be cold, but that it's like the permafrost or something. There's only, like right beneath the soil there, like all the little worms are still doing what they need to do. And so there's actually, because I'm not doing as much outwardly, at least once I finally slow down, right? Because I'm not doing so much outwardly, that gives me the energy to do a lot of inward growth and a lot of work with that. And so, what I think for me, when we do the rituals that most resonate for me are not the whoa super whoopie doo stuff, because I already get that, but the rituals where, like a few years ago, we went into a cave, right? And that kind of stuff where we just really allow ourselves to just spend some time just kind of letting things happen internally, knowing that and trusting that it is happening. So even when things aren't happening outwardly, that inwardly the changes are taking place, and it can be actually a really rich period, because since you're not focused on bringing in your harvest or growing your crops or whatever, you can just sit there with your one bean or whatever and hold it in your hand and really love it and cherish it. But metaphorically, you're doing that same thing. You're not expending so much energy outwards that it can just sit there and just kind of grow and just be itself. And that's that can be really beautiful.
I love that you said that. I've actually never put that together, but that feels like such a clear expression of what I feel that I've never really placed before. I know that as someone who, like, I enjoy high energy, I enjoy, like, one of the reasons I love going to dance competitions is I'm dancing in front of thousands of people,
Oh my gosh. And getting that energy.
And getting the energy, but maybe that's why, the strange fruit tastes sweeter,
Yes.
This part of one of the reasons why I love the dark time of the year, and winter solstice is, right at the core of that, is that it's such a different flavor for me, the turning inward, the quietness, the stillness. But I love the way you put it. That quietness and that stillness doesn't mean an absence, and it doesn't mean that it's boring and nothing's going on. It actually means that everything is going on. It's just more concentrated there at my center.
Yes.
Yeah, centralized.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for helping me see that.
Oh, my pleasure.
So something that this is really just a fresh idea that I just want to talk about with you, because I really enjoy talking about this type of stuff with you. I think that, kind of going back on what we were just saying about, especially me, high energy, the daytime, the sun, light. there's a lot of energy around that, literally
Right.
and spiritually. Even like let's go with like Stonehenge, which is like you know, pagan, witchy monument number one.
Right.
You know, like
yes.
even the non-magical humans like know about Stonehenge.
Yes.
But Stonehenge celebrates summer solstice. You know, and then I hear about all those parties that go on in those places where they have like days of daylight, you know, like people, they party all day long, you know. My question is, why doesn't the night get the love?
So here's the thing. I think because maybe we don't ritualize it or spiritualize it. But so think about it. Like we always, I don't know, people often talk about sitting and watching the sunset, right? So and sunrise. So maybe it's more the liminal things that tend to, I don't know. Maybe it's cultural because, so I think back to, you know, what are some of the things that people talk about when they think of summer, right? And, you know, sitting on the porch, being hot and sweaty, going to the beach. So there's activities, right? What activities are associated with the dark time of the year? I mean, you're just like sitting in your, this is before modern electricity, etc. You're just basically,
fire.
You're sitting around the fire, telling stories. You're sitting in your cold, dark, well, maybe not cold, but your dark place, your dark room, because it's gonna be dark from like 3 or 4 o'clock if you're further north than we are, and so there's not a whole lot of activity, and I think that's so there's not a lot to talk about, and or not a lot to see, and maybe it's just not as much fun. I mean, if you're just on a mundane level, not even talking about the stuff that we've been talking about, you know, dealing with shadow and things like that. But, you know, it's cold. You may be running out of food. People may die. They get sicker. You know, so it could just be mundane associations with it that it's not. I wouldn't say that people think of it not being safe, but it's not as fun. Yeah.
It certainly is not as like chipper.
No. So I think, but people do like those liminal times. They love sunrise and sunset, right? When you're going from one to the other, and they may not necessarily feel that energy, but that liminal, those are portals, right? Those are places where the energy is totally different from full day and full dark, right? And so I think that's one of the reasons why we romanticize sunrises and sunsets. But I think often people just talk about like the physicality of the rest of the year, and maybe it's not, you know, unless you ski or something, you know, ski or ice fish or something, there's not a whole lot to kind of get them. What do you think?
I think what you're saying makes total sense, and I think that as witches we're called to look into the darkness, and I think we may literally feel the pull. Like I know I feel I'm very physical. I feel the pull downward, you know, to want to like go into the earth, and I feel that pull, and I feel the energetic pull to turn inward and look within myself. And I also see why people don't want to do that.
Yes, right. So for me, I don't feel this physical pull, but I do get more of a sense of wanting to be still and quiet and calm and sit. But of course, I know this is where we differ.
Yes.
Yeah. Where I can sit for 3 hours and stare at, I don't know, my navel or whatever. You're like, I've got to dance. I've got to move. So yeah. So I think just the physical associations might be what people tend to think about it. Yeah. Unless they romanticize it, like let it snow, right? You know, so there's that as well, you know. We're going to close our show today. Instead of a poem, we're going to actually play a little bit more of the clip that of the song that we played a small clip of earlier. And this is the song is Santa Claus is Pagan Too, and it's by a great Celtic folk rock band called Emerald Rose. They're originally from Georgia, and I think they started, I know for a fact that they started because I'm looking at the Wikipedia entry. They started in 1996, and from what we could tell on Facebook, it looks like they gave their final concert in 2016. So they had a nice run, but they do wonderful music. And what's so funny about it is I knew this song, and I've heard this song for almost 20 years, and Leilani knew a different song by them. So they're apparently pleasing to a whole bunch of different people. And if you ever get a chance, they're on Spotify. You can find them on YouTube. I highly recommend you listen to their music. And so this is called Santa Claus is Pagan Too.
Now Santa's way more jolly than most Christians would require. And if he weren't so busy, he'd be dancing around this fire. Yeah, you can call it Christmas. You got his way outgunned, but just you wait till Beltane, then we'll see who's having fun. Hey! Santa Claus is pagan too, just like all the rest. And if you are a merry witch, he'll bring you all the best. So get that star upon the roof and bake those cookies too. 'Cause Christmas time is really Yule, and Santa's pagan too. Hey! Santa Claus is pagan too, just like all the rest. And if you are a merry witch, he'll bring you all the best. So get that star upon the roof and bake those cookies too. 'Cause Christmas time is really Yule, and Santa's pagan too.
Before we close up this episode, I wanted to start a new segment called Where My Witch Is At. And that's because we were looking through some of the stats about the podcast. And even though I'm like high energy, there's something beautiful about data and graphs and charts. I find it
Yes, indeed.
sexy. And there's a subreddit called Data is Sexy that I actually look at for those Redditors out there. I dip my toe into the world of Reddit. But anyways, so just some super cool stuff. We were looking at some of our stats, and we found that we're getting some listeners all over the United States. Mm-hmm. We live in San Antonio, but there's also a bunch in Centennial, Colorado. Mm-hmm. So if you are in Centennial, Colorado, and you're listening, please give us a shout out, message us on Instagram or Facebook, or send us an email. We want to hear from you. We want to know what's going on. So I also see stuff in Dallas and Missouri. And now here's where it gets really cool. It also looks like we have some listeners in the UK, as well as Germany, Australia, Russia, Canada, Ireland, Colombia, Greece, and Japan.
Wow!
So,
wow,
where my witches at? Or those of you who don't identify witches, which we'll get to in a second, please reach out to us. Let us know who you are.
We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, let us know what your listening experience is like. What are you thinking? What are your questions? How are you experiencing, like, as you listen, and like what's going on in your life? Mm-hmm. Like, give us a shout out.
That's right. Yeah.
And then we want to, and we'll discuss with you confidentiality and stuff like that. But then we'd love to share a little bit about you in this recurring segment, Where My Witch Is At. Speaking of people who don't identify as witches, we've gotten a couple of reviews on our iTunes web podcast thing, so which is really great. So if you have the ability to rate and review us on any of the podcast platforms, is really helpful. And a lot of the people that we know or are in circle with or have connection to have given us some reviews. But there's someone out there, Izzy1, who reviewed us, and we don't know who you are, but Where My Witch Is At, give us a shout out. And she says, I really like this podcast so far, even though I wouldn't call myself witchy. I really love y'all's energy and hearing about experiences. I also find it very refreshing to hear deep philosophical discussion that aren't bombarded with quotes from old dead guys. I look forward to hearing more. We also like not having to hear old dead guys. And also, thanks for the shout out about not being a witch.
Yeah, we really appreciate hearing that. So any of you, if you want to, leave us a review, comment in any of our social media, we'd so appreciate that. Thank you.
And remember, our podcast is released every second, fourth Friday of the month. So check your feeds. And if you like us on YouTube or any of the other podcast platforms, you'll receive a notification when our new episodes come out. But we look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you.
Thanks. We hope you've enjoyed the magic that has unfolded here at Witchy Wit.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Witchy Wit Podcast.
Email us at witchywit123@gmail.com. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Get exclusive content and support us on Patreon.
Stay witchy, y'all!